Welcome to the real Three Arcs, where orcs pillage and slay and loot and kill innocent squirrels.
No, please, Mr. Orc, leave me alone. I'm just nice, sweet, and innocent, and I need purple hair, though.
No, you can't. You're gonna end up in my gullet.
Oh, please, leave me alone. No.
Hello, welcome back to the Three Arcs channel. Today we're going to do an update of March 31st, 2024. This is going to be update number 3 for the Verbobonc Campaign, the year 576 Common Year. I spent the whole week working a lot on the gods. I was able to complete the entire Flan Pantheon. All the gods are completed with new holy symbols and art for the actual gods themselves. And I created a number of churches, organizations to go with those articles for players to use when it comes to role-playing in their campaign in the Verbobonc area. I also was able to complete the Oeridian, or the Aerdi Pantheon as well, with also a plethora of organizations and churches too. And so today I started working on the Sul. And I got 2 of those gods done so far, but it's going to take some time to wrap those up, and then I'm going to have to do some Backlunas because I definitely need Istis because she's actually has a church in Verbobonc. So again, I just want to explain why I'm doing this. Now this website is for reference for at the table when you're role-playing for the Temple of Elemental Evil campaign, more like an open sandbox type role-playing campaign where you start off in either the City of Verbobonc or one of the villages. And so each of these articles are connected to locations in the area. So if a player goes to like one of the churches in Verbobonc City or one of the villages, and there's a lot of them, even in the village of Hamlet, there's 2 churches, they'll come across the priests, NPCs there, and then you're going to need a quick reference, a link to that god and any organization associated with it. So that's good for the side of the Dungeon Master so you can roleplay and get the information and the lore quickly. But what's also good about this is depending on what the players play. So the player could be a ranger, a cleric, a druid, a wizard, a paladin, and they're all going to need links to those gods that they worship or venerate or serve, so they not only can see how they roleplay and their relationships with other gods and the people of Verbobonc, but also there's information there like prayers they can use and quotes. If you play a cleric, the specialty cleric spells and abilities listed on the right-hand side. If you optionally want to add that to your campaign to make your clerics more different, to give them a different vibe, a definite difference between one cleric and another. Yes, I always say role-playing is the number one thing about that. When you get 2 clerics, or you got 10 fighters, or 10 thieves, they can all be completely different just by role-playing. What you're wearing, what you look like, how you present yourself, how you talk, how you roleplay, your race, the organization you belong to, where you're from, all that comes down to a different character in the world. It'll make a big difference between 2 types of classes. And I have created a few videos on the subject before, so you can go ahead and look that up if you like, and how to pull that off. Okay, so back to the idea of why this website's so useful. Overall, I just mentioned basically what it's for, but there's even more to that. So let's say you have a ranger or a druid from the gnarly forest. Is he human or is he elf? Is he from one of the elven clans or is he from the woodsmen of gnarly men? Is he maybe one from the smaller villages of the Viscounty, the breadbasket of the Viscounty itself? Maybe he's from Luna or the Cron Hills. All these small villages everywhere. They have different backgrounds, the different kind of character type he could be. So a fighter could be maybe a woodsman, or he could be a mercenary guard. Or he could be a farmer that raised in the militia of the village defense. And that's how he became first level fighter to go adventuring. Same thing with a ranger. Is he a ranger of the gnarly forest or the Thirandi forest up north? Or is he a ranger from Beluna? And of course there's druids too. There's a lot of places a druid could come from. There's druids in the gnarly forest, of course, serving the circle. And then there's druids from other woods around the area. Also, each small town generally has a druid, kind of like the village of Hamlet. And then he worships a specific god, and there's a certain type of druid. Because depending on the god you worship is the kind of druid you are, or a cleric, or a paladin, or whatever. Because if you read those articles about those gods and the organizations for them, it tells you what kind of flavor that organization is, what kind of person you are, what kind of character you are. So knowing this information, when you go into a village and there's certain churches or chapels there of a particular god or faith, and the player goes in there to converse or talk to them or get help or assistance or report information, you're going to know how to deal with that because it's a certain chapel for a specific god. This character venerates a different god or a different faith, and so you know how they're going to react to each other, how much assistance you're going to get. And then, of course, all the bishops and the leadership and the hierarchy of all these organizations are all like a pyramid scheme all the way up to the city of Verbobonc, where where the capital is, where all the leadership of the faiths are located at, except for, of course, the druids and the rangers. They're out in the gnarly forest, but those articles are there for that as well. And then we have wizards. There's 2 schools of wizardry within Verbobonc. There's the Silver Consortium and the Wrinkle Academy. And that doesn't have to say that could be the only place they could come from. They could be trained originally from Divers or Greyhawk or any other city in the area, or they could actually be trained by a hedge wizard, which has his own tower, his own wizard's tower in the middle of nowhere or in a small village, and that character's background could be generated from there. And that's what these articles are great for, because it's going to detail every single village and location and shop and NPC in the area, so that way a dungeon master can pull us all together and throw together a background for a character easy enough. What's so important about having such a background created and set up with these links to these locations and filled out and flushed out? Well, in the campaign, especially a sandbox type campaign, you got players doing all sorts of things. They're going from one location to the next. They're following up on clues and rumors. They go to one dungeon to another, to a moat house, to like the Temple of Air, or any other place, like trying to track down the Blackthorn orcs at their staging areas for raids, or the giants in the Lord Mill Mountains, or dealing with the gnomes. So as the players are traversing and getting around in the world in this campaign, they're going to know where they can get assistance and help. What kind of support system they have. If they belong to this one organization or this school, or they know these NPCs, they're beholden to them, their masters, whatever, they know they can go there. Like a thief can know he can go to the Thieves Guild in Verbobonc to get assistance or information or training or help. So that's really nice to know in a campaign. That way the players have a solid foundation of where they're from and what they're about and what they're doing and who they can count on for this kind of thing. And I think that makes the game, brings it more to life and makes it more engaging and more real. So let's go ahead and take a look at everything I did over the week, and we'll go from there. So let me go ahead and pull up the other screen, take a look at the map that I've been making. I've been talking about remapping the City of Verbobonc map for about a month now, and it's been taking me a long time. Every day I try to put in an hour or two into mapping using Wonder Draft, this massive city. Originally, this city was drawn by different modules from the 90s, and then Bane's Finger went ahead and drew a better version of it in 2001 for his article, where he flushed out and keyed a lot of the locations in the city, and he went ahead and detailed the defenses and the walls and things like that. So I felt that, now that's the year 2024, with modern mapping software, I figured I'd give it an update and flush it out a little bit more, kind of rework it just a little bit. There's not a lot of differences here. I pretty much kept with what he did. I just made a few adjustments I thought would make sense and look better. I'm almost done. I got the whole city created. So on the north side of the Villiverdiver River, we have the Rhineade district, the farmlands. All the way to the left is that Wizard's Tower. I'm going to scroll in here. Let's see. Sorry, I got to look at my other monitor so I can see what I'm doing. So I got my Wizard Tower over here to the southwest. And then we have the city. And outside of each gate, there's a little bit of farmland type buildings and a couple inns and some shops that I'm still working on. But the map is pretty much almost done. I just need to go through it and make some adjustments. Maybe replace a building or two or adjust its location, add brush and trees and hedges. And I added a whole bunch of animals. So in these pastures are sheep. And this pasture is cows, and more cows and more cows. On the other side of the Merchant Road, I think that's more sheep. Yeah, sheep. And we got wheat, and also I think there's supposed to be a moat around these walls. I'll have to double check. I still haven't quite finished the map yet, but I'm almost done. My goal is to finish this map this weekend so I can start keying it. I need it for the campaign coming up. We put some irrigation aqueduct which is defunct. It's ruins here outside the walls, but I guess there's still water flowing through it, being used by the farmlands. And I put a windmill here, something added that wasn't on the original map. And we have, some farms and taverns and inns and things like that. I threw some wagons, some traffic in there. See, there's a horse-drawn wagon. And then we cross the bridge. Oh, the docks themselves, those are extended docks. So I put some boats in there, give it some life. And some more over this side to the south. This is a river barge. I don't think anybody ever talks about that. But if you're going to traverse the river south, I think only river barges can really do it, or rowboats, or small fishing boats. So I put some thought into that. Somebody's crossing the bridge. These lines right here separating the bridge pieces, I couldn't really get rid of. I might try. We'll see what I can do. And then we have the major docks, the waterfront. I need to go through that still. So as that area right there, that space right there is a little bit bare. I need to flush that out, fill it in. We got some warehouses, a warehouse with a crane, and there's a couple cranes here and there to unload cargo. But the marketplace is flushed out and done. So this is the new chapel of St. Cuthbert, the new church. And then in front of it is the marketplace, which is pretty flushed out. I added road where, the paths that the shoppers use as they go from tent to tent. I thought that was interesting. In the middle, I put a little, like a tent, not a tent, but should be a little bandstand type location so they can have events. It's covered. And we got buildings all around. And then I also added, if you notice this, you see the streets in the business district? Well, I added more rows and more streets. So basically, I added alleys. We had some requests from players that, hey, the city doesn't have any alleys. You got to have alleys, especially if there's going to be a thieves guild and you got thief players. It's realistic that there should be alleys. So I went ahead and added them. I still have to detail the alleys out. I still have to put stuff in there and put road marks around this area. So this area is not quite done yet. But I started going through this last night. So I added some bushes and trees and things like that. And as you can see, as we go around the walls, we still have the farmlands. We got the Silver Consortium and that book library place. A couple churches here, Heronius. I don't have it all memorized. And then we have the chapel. We have the courthouse square. I figured I'd put a fountain there with some benches and some plant stands, cement or brick. So this is an area that's used for public speeches and events, political speeches and events. There's Jolly's Inn right there. I put a grand carriage in front of it. I didn't put like an entry front area. It's like right on I placed the inn right on the square. Maybe I should pull it back some and add like a entry road circular thing going into it. Not sure yet. I'll have to think about that one. Oops. So this map is a lot more detailed in World Anvil. What you're seeing is just a copy of it in this app right here. And it's a smaller screen. So it's a lot more detailed than you can see here. Like this neighborhood is not done yet. See how all the space around the buildings are blank. I still got to flush all that out and add more detail. I also need to add flags. I actually have flag there's two flag graphics right there, but they're brown. I have to change that. Put some banners flying from the towers. Things like that. This is the Elven District, the Elven Quarter. So I detailed this in a different kind of art style just to separate it. That way it would be obvious that's the Elven Dawn Quarter. I added quite a bit more buildings in the trees than the original map had. So it's more alive, more lived in, more places to go and visit, more population. And the walls themselves are just grown of tangled woods and tangled vines and brush and trees, defended by the Elven Guard. And really, it's supposed to be like this whole area right here on both sides of the river is kind of like a forested area. And the elves guard that very well. So the human militia or the guards of the city don't have to worry about it because that's their responsibility. And then across the river is the same thing. So across the river to the south is more of the city. This district, I think, is still the business district. This over here is the Gnomesburg. And if I scroll in, I made little hills with entrances for the gnomes. These are kind of like mine doorway entryways. It's supposed to be doored. It's supposed to be turrets. No, what do they call them? The gnome community has these little homes in the hill, and they have a name for that. I can't remember what it is. But if you don't zoom in too close, it looks like, you know, the gnome community with all their little hills and domiciles within the hill. And I added some docks up here to the north with regular buildings, so they can have their own trade, their own dock, which might be useful in role-playing with gnomes, if you have a reason for that. I did add the moat here from the river going around the walls. So you have to cross the water to get to the wall. So that's been done. And then the drawbridge here of this massive gatehouse tower is drawn up. It's not down right now. And then outside the city walls, of course, there's more farmlands and a little community outside the walls. And then, of course, a couple of these locations are keyed locations that need to be done. I put cows there as a cow pasture. This is that ruined school of something, school of the elements, I believe. So that's completed. And over here is a grotto, one of the shrines to a berry or something like that. I'm not sure. And there's another one over here, right there, which I haven't filled it in at all. I just put the little pond there. I still got to do that area. It's a little shrine area. And I have one of those boats. I have one of those merchant rafts here on the river to show you the scale of it traveling up and down the river to get to further down, like Cienega Valley. I think Cienega Valley is as far as a merchant can go in boat to trade, because that's the last set of docks you can actually reach. The stream gets too narrow and shallow after that. Okay, then on this side, on the southeast side of the city, we have the outer buildings, a little community as well, with more farmlands all around it, trying to detail that in to make it look alive. To the north is that refugee camp. So I believe this refugee camp does not exist in the year 576 Common Year. I think these refugees are from the Greyhawk Wars. You know, after the invasions, they came here to survive. But I decided to add it anyway. So depending on what kind of campaign you're running, you could use it for whatever you want. This is a permanent building right here. It's like a tavern that was set up by the refugees. That'll be keyed too. And then we got more farmlands to the north, all the way up to another community that's outside the walls. And it keeps going. The road keeps going off the map with all these farmlands. So this is definitely a large city. In the middle, on top of this hill, is Castle Greyfist. As described in the main article, it's elven architecture. There's the Viscount's Tower, and then the main palace. There's buildings off to the side for barracks. This is the training grounds of the barracks of the guard, the Viscount's Guard and his troops there, which is all keyed with their own NPC leaders too, for the articles. So if I even have entryway into the Greyfist Castle all keyed as well, so that way the Dungeon Master can use that information to roleplay it, so whether or not to allow players in or not. Because they're always, any players that are trying to get into this place will be challenged by the guards. So that's all detailed out to help you run it. And I believe I put some dialogue in there too to help you out. I try to put in some little detail here and there just to add life to it. These towers do have flags flying from them, but they're the same color, unfortunately. I can always change them later. And then down here, this waterfront district is like warehouses and trade centers for the docks right here, all along the road here. And in the far corner here is a rich trade home right here with some detail. That way you could put somebody important here, but right now it's not keyed, but I might key that later. Then all along this outer road that follows the circumference of the hill comes into the high quarter. And so these are all rich manors, estates, and some of them are keyed, and you'll find out in the articles. And then as you go around through the high quarter, and you get to the main gates, I'll zoom out. This is the mint. This is one of the major, this big manor right here is almost like a castle in its own right. Is one of the manors of one of the lords. And he's responsible for the mint down the street, where they keep all the Verbobonc gold, the treasury. Here's the ruins of that burnt down theater that happened a way back. I don't know the date of that is, so I just kept it that way. I'll just say it just happened maybe a year ago. And in these two locations here are two more nobles. And the art difference style between this building and this building, the building's architecture works for the description of the location, but the art style is a little bit different. And we have a main square. This is the main temple square where the Cathedral of Slytherin is. I have a lot of parades and things happening going on this area. So when players are walking through, passing through, they're going to witness a lot of things happening with the priesthood and the followers of Slytherin. And we go back to the middle and we'll zoom all the way out so you get a scale of this. So that's pretty much done. I just need to fill in some more details. Then the next step is I need to make 2 versions of this map. So this map is going to have no labels, because I need to put the labels in World Anvil, where you click on the label and it'll pull up the article. So it's an interactive, clickable map. And then I need to make another version of this map with the labels permanently on them, numbered. That way we can provide that on the Patreon, and you can download that and print it up if you want. So I'll have 2 versions for either use. And now that we got to look at the map, that's hopefully will be done by tomorrow or the next day. I have the Verbobonc Campaign guide that I've been working on as well. So during the week, I'm constantly updating this article, this website, to flush it out. So lately what I've been working on is the Verbobonc Encyclopedia, the deities and religions, and I finished the entire Flan deities. All the gods you see listed here are completed, and they're ready to be used in a campaign. And then, of course, they also have the optional rules to go with them too. And then we have the Oeridian gods as well. That took a while to do. All week I spent cranking that out. There's a lot more gods here. And they're completed along with, church organizations. So these are the church organizations I've created so far. We got the Church of Pelor, the Church of St. Cuthbert, Slytherin, Ouijas, Knights of the Chase, the One True Way, the God of Fultus, the Holy Order of Heronius, the Order of Reo, the Order of the Enlightened Mind, and the Priesthood of Uis. So I'm trying to get those done because I feel they're really important for a campaign. And not only for the Dungeon Master to organize and run his campaign, but for the players too, so they can come from somewhere. They have a solid foundation of information of what they're part of. And they'll know what kind of assistance they can get from that organization if they belong to one of them. Like I said, things that players could take advantage of is information, training, equipment, getting assistance, things like that. Now let's take a look at the school. Today I completed Vatun, Ouijas, and Zerbo. They turned out fantastic, by the way. So let's take a look at Zerbo, and I'll show you what I mean. So this is the god of the sea dragon, and love the art. I love the artwork, the way that came out. That's totally him and his magical trident, and everything you expect in the article to reference at the game is here for you to use. And it's all bullet pointed out, laid out logically, well organized. And on the right-hand side are these a menu, quick links to get to a place in the article, so for a quick reference. On the right-hand side is the more important things. There's a specialty cleric spell list that they get if they were a cleric of Zerbo. And there's the new holy symbol that I created for him. Also, a lot of these gods for my campaign, I'll write a prayer for that god for role-playing purposes. So how I feel to do in their role-playing, or they can just use it as a guide so they can create their own prayers. Kind of like an example. Okay, let's go back to the table of contents, and we'll have to start back from the encyclopedia down to deities and the Soul that we're working on. So I got those 3 done. Ouijas turned out really well. Let me take a look at that. So Ouijas got a new facelift for her character. That's the plane she's from, the plane of cubes. The plane is full of these battle cubes where it's constant warfare going on. That's what the vibe I was going for. She's the witch goddess. Everything you need to know about her is here, including all the specialty cleric abilities. I find this god very interesting because you can actually play a wizard and worship or venerate Ouijas as well. And what's great about it is not just the holy days and the catchphrases and the holy symbol, but they actually have different cults. So let's go to the organization here called the Church of Ouijas. And the Church of Ouijas covers the composition of the clergy and the sects and the orders. The sects and the orders and the specialty priests and roles and responsibilities, and the undead worship of Ouijas. So this is a way to become a lich. The wizard's goal that follows Ouija's, that worships and venerates her, is to become a lich. That's one of the things that they like about her. They call it the Secret Council of Liches. And there's a whole thing about this here, about the different cults. So there's the cult of the Green Lady and the Cabal of the Ever-Burning Flame. And I believe there's room to create another cult, as many cults as you want. But these cults are located elsewhere. They're not in the Verbobonc area. So you'll have, maybe I'll create a cult for this area of the Flaness. Now, as I know from running the Living Greyhawk series and the Temple of Elemental Evil, there's no real presence of the Church of Ouija's here in the Verbobonc area. I was just talking to a player about this today. Now, if you wanted to actually create a wizard that followed Ouija's, and his ultimate goal was to become a lich someday, go along that path, or play around in that realm of magic and become really powerful. I was thinking about movies that kind of represented that in the past. All those Sherlock Holmes books and movies where there's this rich gentleman, this noble, he has a mansion. And in his basement is these worship altars and worship rooms where they worship some strange god. He has a cult. And all these other rich people show up, and they're wearing hoods and different symbols, and they got sacrificial knives, and Sherlock Holmes has to go investigate where the murder took place and find out that the cultist was up to it, and they try to put a stop to it. Well, that gave me an idea that the same thing could be happening in the Verbobonc. Maybe one of the nobles does venerate Church of Ouija's. You got to remember, these NPCs are they're not by themselves. They have family. So maybe a brother or a sister of one of these nobles is a wizard. And maybe the whole family's in on it, where they worship the cult of Ouija's in their basement of one of these mansions in Verbobonc. And I think that'd be a good plot hook for a character that wants to follow that path. So I might be working on that in the near future for one of my players. Okay, one last thing, going back to the deities and religions area. I'm working on Sul right now. I need to go through all those. There's a lot of gods. It's going to take me all week. I'm trying to get them done as fast as I can. I still got to do the Elven Pantheon and the Gnomes and the Halflings. Because it could be a player that's an elf, a halfling, or a gnome. And he could be a cleric or a druid. I really need to get those done. Because all these villages they could be from, like from Shir Nob, they have chapels to these gods there. And the player might be from there. So it'd be great if those articles were done for that player. Also for the Dungeon Master, so you can help roleplay with that player. And you can actually integrate that into the campaign, into the storyline, into the lore. To interact with the player. Treat him special, give him some extra stuff. Well, not extra stuff, but include him in the campaign with the lore and what's happening in the world. Make it feel like he's vital to the story, vital to the world of what's going on around him. And you could also possibly give him some missions or quests from the bishop or the priest there. They could actually be asking, look into this or look into that. We're concerned. But, because it's more important than you think. These Living Greyhawk modules that I'm running in this campaign world, they are all very active in all these small villages throughout the Viscounty, including these NPCs that I'm referring to. So it would be really important to have these articles done for that, because when you're running those adventures, you need to know about that information when you run them, and the players will be involved with that. Like for example, Shir Nob is being attacked by the giants from the Lower Mill Mountains. And I don't want to give away any spoilers, but who's behind that is really important. And why these giants are motivated to attack Shir Nob. And they're trying to defend it. And there's a druid there, and there's another church there too. And so maybe that player that's playing a gnome, I don't know, a druid or a illusionist or something, they're asked to get help. That the nobles of Verbobonc are not paying attention. Because the Viscount himself did pull back the mounted borderers. They're no longer patrolling the area. That's bad news. The only rare patrol that comes through here is the 4th Mounted Borderers of the 4th Company, which is located in Ostwerk. And they've been depleted of their manpower. They're only down to 1 patrol now because the Viscounty pulled them all back. The noble down there that's in charge of that company, he has his hands full, barely able to keep Ostwerk safe. In fact, he probably can't. The only reason Ostwerk is safe at all is because of the elven fortress that's there. And anything that even pops his head outside that forest wall will get an arrow through his eye from the castle walls. Well, we're going down rabbit holes, a lot of plot, a lot of twists, deep campaign lore that I could talk about for hours. But I just wanted to go over, my update for the Verbobonc Campaign 576 Common Year campaign in the Verbobonc area for the sandbox campaign for the Temple of Elemental Evil. Hopefully this update excited all of you like it's excited me that I'm getting the things done. That I got 2 Pantheons out of the way. I'm working on the 3rd human one. And the City of Verbobonc map is almost done. That means I can start filling in those keyed areas on the map on the website, so you can start clicking on the stuff and reading the articles that way. You can navigate to those articles, those locations, by using the map and not the table of contents.
Did you enjoy video? Consider tossing support on my Patreon. It best way to support orcs. If you would like to see more content, subscribe and post comments below. It better not be bad.
Well, I hope you like what you saw so far. If you want to support everything I've been doing and get more involved in this campaign, please come to my Patreon and sign up there. I have a lot of things I offer there for free downloads for this campaign because it falls under a fan content policy of WotC. Also, if you want to become involved in the decision making and the design and input of this campaign, please come to my 3 Orcs Discord, and that's where we talk about this stuff. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. I hope your campaign's as excited as the number of camp groups that I've run through my campaign. I'll see you next week.